Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Wrestling with Wrestling. Can you believe we've done 49 of these? Next show will be our 50th show. It's me, Steve, joined as always by my partner, the great Doc Gregory. Doc, how's it going, buddy?
Today I'm the second coming of Jesus. Growing out the beard, getting ready for Easter, because I like to, just kind of pull a ruse on all the churches by trying to audition as Jesus, and then gotcha, I'm an atheist. Gotcha.
You need to wear like a dirty robe and put like some dirt in your hair and go stumbling into a church on Easter morning and act all confused. Like,
I,
God,
I don't
where
know
am
where I
I?
am. I
I
I
just
just
woke up in a tomb.
hmm I was in a long tunnel and there was a light at the end because somebody pushed a fucking rock aside.
Blasphemer, how dare you? How dare you mock our Lord on this most holy of days?
It happens.
Sorry. I didn't know you guys would take it that personal.
Touchy.
Yeah, that would be. Sorry, God, I have no idea. Can't even make fun of somebody's God nowadays. Everybody's so uptight. Jesus. Um, yeah, so that'll be fun. Well, we usually start out with talking about the most recent episode of Raw, but there was another show, another WWE show actually, last week that blew away any episode of Raw I can remember going back years and years and years, and was actually better than most WWE pay-per-views even have been for the last couple years. And that was, of course, the most recent NXT special on the WWE Network, NXT Takeover Rival, that was held live last Wednesday. We'll just talk about this for a few minutes because I can't not talk about it on this show because I just fucking thought it was so amazing. Doc, what did you think of the NXT show?
Well, I mean, I absolutely agree with you. I mean, I was glued into it, and it could not take my eyes off this phenomenal performance that every single one of these guys brought out. I think that I was unfamiliar with Blake and Murphy, and I was like, when did these guys win the tag team championships? Because I'm a little bit out of the loop. I'm like, when the hell did this happen? I don't even know you guys. And I think Murphy, I was watching the team, and I think that Murphy is the standout star. He's just got something about him. He's got a look about him that I think that he's going to be one that when that team breaks up, and it will because it's a WWE team. So
Right.
I think that Murphy's going to be a breakout star of that team. But besides that, I mean, I think that match fell a little bit flat, and there were again, I believe you had mentioned it, or somebody had mentioned it about a few of the little flubs there at the beginning.
Yeah, actually, the thing about that tag match, yeah, there were a couple of botches at the beginning that I think maybe threw the audience off. But the thing that got me about it was just so fast. They were just doing so many near falls. It was just like boom, 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 boom. And I didn't think it was a bad match. Like I actually liked the match, but it was just exhausting to watch because it was just there was no pacing to it at all. It was just like near fall, 1, 2, near fall again, and they just kept going and going and going until the finish. I was like, Jesus, guys, it's like they worked like 20 minutes worth of match in like a 10-minute match. It was crazy.
And you can't, of course, exclude the work of art that was put on by Finn Balor and Adrian Neville. I mean, these guys know each other because they've traveled the world. Unlike some of the just American style wrestlers, these guys have
Yeah.
been all over the world, so they've come across each other before and traveled with each other. But man, what a piece of work that match was, and beautiful. And I think they went in the right direction there with Finn. I mean, which is funny because it seems like this new crop of up and comers. You had Adrian Neville, who's been there for a little while and busting his ass, and you have Sammy, who's really been busting his ass and went through several name changes to get to where he
Yeah.
is. Finally got that opportunity. And it seems like these new stars, which are really hot on the scene, like Kevin Owens, like Finn Balor, um, and Hideo, it's like these guys are getting a major push straight to the top because it's like I think the fans I think it's just something that they're reading. It's like Triple H knows that that's what the fans really want, so he's giving them the push. He's giving the fans exactly what they want. But what's nice about it is he's raising the bar on several wrestlers at the same time, though, which is nice. It's just not one big push to one guy ramming down your throat because you got Kevin Owens up there and you still got Sami Zayn and you got Finn Balor and the possibility of Samoa Joe. Would be perfect on that roster,
Oh, yeah. Yeah, wouldn't it? I mean, it's really cool, but at the same time, it's kind of upside down because I mean, NXT is the developmental territory. It's sort of like the minor leagues. It should be like WWE's AAA team, you know. But the product is so much better than the main product that you almost it's like you don't want to see these guys called up. Like I'm terrified of what they're going to do with Adrian Neville if they when they call him up to Raw. I feel like they're just going to ruin him because he is so great in NXT. He's just I mean that match with him and Finn was fucking amazing. It was such a great match. And, you know, it was so well worked. All of the NXT matches, all of their big matches, they're so great at laying out these matches where they've established each guy's signature spots. And when they get to the big matches on these specials, they almost never hit the spot the first time. They always tease it. They always have it more complicated. Like, you know, Sami Zayn and his all that stuff he does in the corner, you know, like the haluva kick or that exploder suplex that he does where he throws the guy into the turnbuckle. Like in a normal sort of a squash type of match on a regular episode of NXT, he would hit all that shit like the first try. But in a big main event match on one of these shows, it's not that simple. You know, he has to work for it. And they do that for all of their matches on this show, where a wrestler will go for one of his signature moves and he'll miss it, or it'll be blocked, or it'll be reversed, and then 5 minutes later he'll try it again and he'll get it. And that level of complexity to the matches just really comes through. And I mean, the only match on this show, I thought all the matches were great except for the Bull versus what's the other guy's name? The biker. Oh, Baron Corbin. The Bull Dempsey versus Baron Corbin. I didn't think that was that great of a match. And it was one of the only matches I've ever seen where the NXT crowd actually shat on the match. Like, that crowd is usually so positive, but they were just not digging that match at all.
Yeah, for some reason I think it's when I'm watching Bull, it's just he falls flat in my eyes. I don't know what it is about him. It's like he draws no interest in me, and Barrett did, absolutely. I mean, he's a big, tough guy. The way he came out and the way he performed or just held himself, he did hold some type of interest. I think that they just threw a guy who's on the border of being very interesting into a feud with a guy who's not interesting at all, and that's where you just, like, that feud has no meaning. Nobody cared.
Yeah. I think it's one of the rare instances where I feel like, because the booking in NXT is another thing. The booking of NXT is usually just rock solid. And I think it's one of the only examples of NXT recently where I can think that they probably just should have booked that feud a little differently, because those two, Bull and Baron, had been sort of booked as being on a collision course with each other. And neither one of them are great workers at this point. And I feel like they should have just built it up to just one match. You know, they should have, and that one match should have been at this rival show. But this was like the third time that they've had a match. This was their third TV match in the last month or so. So we've already seen them wrestle, and the matches haven't been that great, and sort of that mystique of having them fight for the first time is gone. So it was just sort of like they were just having another match. It just didn't feel like as if it was that big of a deal. But yeah, the opener with Hideo versus Tyler Breeze was just great. I loved seeing Hideo get all fired up and seeing the crowd really get behind him.
And Tyler Breeze has to do something about his hair, because for a guy who is obsessed a little bit with you seeing his face, constantly having to reach down and pull your hair out of your face is kind of, a hindrance for you. You want people to see your face, and a lot of times when you're working, your hair is hanging straight down there. So that's something I think that he needs to take care of, just to go a little bit better with this gimmick.
Yeah, although, speaking of the gimmick, he did add that furry selfie stick to his phone this time. I thought that was pretty funny. Not only does he have the selfie stick, but it's all wrapped in like purple fur.
I was completely behind at times. Dana told me what that was. I was like, "What in the hell is?" I had no clue what the hell he was carrying.
Right.
I was like, "Check him out. He's got a cell phone on the end of a stick." I'm like, I guess that's just to get a better, selfie of yourself. And she said, "That's a selfie stick." I'm like, "What the hell's a selfie stick?"
You're like, hey, I'm an adult. I don't know what these things are. Well, we've mentioned all the matches on the show so far, except for the Divas title match
Hmm.
and the main event. So let's talk about the Divas match. Man, these fucking NXT Divas matches just continue to blow me away. Like, I am always amazed at how great these matches are, and I thought this four-way for the Divas title was really amazing, and I especially liked the finish, where Sasha had Charlotte in a submission hold and Charlotte wouldn't tap out, so Sasha just rolled her over in like a crucifix position and got the pin on her to get the win in the title. I thought it was an awesome match. What did you think?
Yeah, she just fatigued her to the point, where she wouldn't be able to get kicked out, which was smart. I'm a little bit excited about this because the title has changed. It has come off of Charlotte. I think it's a double-edged sword. It's like I'm thinking, okay, is she ready to be called up to the main roster to Raw, which would be nice. I mean, because she's that good that she needs to be on Raw.
Yeah.
But like I said, double-edged sword when you go on Raw, and I'm looking right at Paige. She might get thrown into that whole total divas bullshit.
Yeah.
But I think that's changing. As more and more of these girls get called up, and the old, because when you're a female wrestler in WWE, you have probably a good 10 years, and that's about it.
Yeah.
So as those get filtered out, and this new crop of NXT wrestlers get pushed in, we're going to see that whole thing change. For right now, we just got to swallow the sour pill.
Yeah, yeah. It's and the worry that I would have for the divas being called up is even worse than I would have for the guys, because, like you say, I mean, there have been, I mean, like Paige, who was a great part of NXT, and she gets called up, and now look at her, she's thrown into the mix with the Total Divas, and it's terrible. Even though she's incredibly talented, it's not doing anything for her at all. But yeah, the match was great, and then that main event with Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens that really felt like a main event. It felt like a big match. They had an awesome video package to hype it. It brought up like their real life history and their friendship and all the years they've wrestled on the independent scene. And for those of you who don't know, most of you guys who watch the show probably know. I mean, this is Kevin Steen and El Generico from Ring of Honor. These guys had amazing matches in Ring of Honor, 3 or 4 years ago, and now here they are both in the WWE system as Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens. And at first, when the match was first over, I wasn't sure I liked the finish because it was a stoppage. Owens didn't actually pin him. They just had the ref throw the match out because Owens was just beating him too much. But after I thought about it for a minute, I really, really like the finish because I think it sets up a great comeback story for Sami, and it really makes me want to see the rematch.
Mm-hmm.
And it makes Owens look like a fucking killer. I mean, he beat him so bad the ref had to stop the fight, and I loved every second of this. I thought this was a great match. I don't know, I think maybe Finn versus Adrian was the match of the night, but this was damn close. This was a great match.
Yeah, no, this actually to me was the perfect main event, and to me the highlight of the evening. The finish to me was great. You're right. It does bring up the possibility of that. Well, it does bring up the rematch. That is inevitable. And Kevin beat the living crap out of him. I mean, it was insane. I did like the way he just kept going back, and he powerbombed him, and then he started like laying down those fists, and man, it was just ultimate cruelty to a guy who, for some reason, if you tried to pin him, he kicked the fuck out. It's just intestinal fortitude on the half of Sami Zayn, which is great. He's like a picture of Dolph Ziggler, the guy who doesn't give up, because it is a championship. This was fucking like Rocky versus Apollo Creed. That's the way this matchup felt. It had that much intensity and that blood feud between the two guys. So this was a perfect matchup, and I enjoyed it. I had to watch it 2 or 3 times, but it was really good. It couldn't have gone any better than this. No, I wasn't upset about the finish at all.
Yeah, and you know what I loved about it the most is, especially in those last couple minutes of the match when Owens is just fucking beating him, and the trainers keep coming in and checking on him, and they keep cutting to the crowd, and the crowd is fucking eating it up. Like, there are people in the crowd who look really upset, like legitimately upset and worried about Sami. And this is pro wrestling, and these are smart fans. Like all the people in that NXT ring, they're smart fans. You know, they know that wrestling is a work. They don't know they're not under the impression that these guys really hate each other and are really having a fight. But it didn't matter. Their belief, they had suspended their disbelief, and they were on the edge of their seats. And man, they hated Kevin Owens. Every time he would move in and push the trainers aside and pick Sammy back up, he got booed so hard. And there were people people looked like they were about to cry because he was beating Sammy so brutally. It was some of the best like pro wrestling drama I have seen in ages. I loved it. And that's when you know you got him. You know what I mean? Like when the match is so good and the story is so good, you're like, oh, they're eating it up. I've got him. You know, I just loved it.
And they're pushing Kevin perfectly. He's a guy. He's told his story that he's there. He needs to feed his family and all that, and that's what he's done because him and Sammy had taken that different path. He has a wife and kids. He's got to take care of them, and he's going to prove to the whole NXT roster that he's here. He's a threat. I'm going to beat the shit out of every single one of you if I have to, but I'm going to be the top guy, and I'm going to take home the butter. I'm going to feed my kids. I'm going to feed my wife and kids. I'm going to take care of them, and if it means that I have to turn my back on you, my best friend, I'm going to have to do that. It means I got to fight you and show you what I got, and I'm going to beat the hell out of you, and I'll do that.
Yeah, it was just amazing.
Now we just need Samoa Joe to come over there, and I'm pulling that. Yeah, I'm putting it out there right now. I've posted it on several websites, and I'm like, next, let those. I want to hear in this audience that we want Joe. We want Joe. I want to hear those chants. Get that started. As soon as he becomes a free agent, snatch that up. I wouldn't be surprised if they don't snatch it up, then he'll just go and join AJ Styles over in Japan. He'll be the next member of the Bullet Club.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I would love to see him in NXT just because, I mean, I love Joe. I think I've always been a fan of Samoa Joe, and but there's also like this morbid curiosity of, what are they going to change his name to? Because they're going to give him some horrible new name. Like, I joked on the Wrestling with Wrestling fan page, they'll call him South Pacific Joe instead of Samoa Joe. But maybe they'll call him like Joe Samoa. They'll I mean, you think they'd be smart enough to at least keep Joe, make him something Joe, because that's Joe's gonna kill you. Like they want to, you want to give the fans a chance to chant that,
Bazooka Joe.
Oh my God, yes, they'll call him Bazooka Joe. But yeah, so that was the NXT show. It was awesome. And now let's talk about a show that wasn't as awesome, but wasn't terrible. Raw's been getting better the last couple weeks. This week's episode of Raw, it emanated live from Orlando, Florida, which was the site of WrestleMania 24, if you'll remember, and they reminded us of that a few times. The announcers, of course, Cole, JBL, and Booker T, and the first segment was actually a little bit different than they usually do. Usually the first segment has been a very long promo to sort of set up the main event of this show, but they didn't do that this time. They changed it up. They had the first segment be John Cena and Rusev. And Cena came out first by himself and cut a really good promo, I thought. And then Rusev and Lana came out, and it ended up with, a brawl, Cena and Rusev getting into it. Cena wound up getting the better end of it. He put Rusev down on the stage, and I loved that they ended it with Cena standing over Rusev yelling, "Anybody can be beat! Anybody can be beat!" And he seemed just so passionate and so into it. And that was the first segment of the show. And I thought, even though I would still much rather see them start the show with a match rather than a promo, I thought this was so much better than the typical opening segments that they've been doing, where Triple H or Seth Rollins or whoever, the heel side will come out and just blah 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 for 15 minutes, and then the only result is, well, we have a match for tonight. I thought this was a really strong opening segment. What'd you think?
I love Rusev. He is my type of heel. He's the type of guy that if he comes out and he interrupts you and you go back and forth and you get threatened that the guy in the ring like John Cena is going to come up there and fight you, you take your damn belt and you hand over the flag and you get ready to fight. That's what I love about Rusev. And if you get your ass kicked, then so be it. And yeah, John Cena got the better half of him this time. He took some really hard bumps on that stage, which I was worried about that. But
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, WWE's trying to sell off that this is like maybe a hint that, I guess that John Cena could be losing it, could be turning a little bit. He's showing a little bit more of his, violent side.
Yeah, and it makes me really, it makes me kind of hyped to see this match. You know, because like when Cena is on and he's not making jokes, I think he is awesome. I think Cena as an intense, like, you know, passionate promo is really, really good. Even if I'm tired of him as the top guy, I can still appreciate what he brings to the table when he is like in the zone like this. And I think this feud with Rusev has been really, it's been good for Rusev, of course, because he's working with John Cena, and it's been good for Cena too. It's felt like it freshens him up a little to have him away from that world title main event picture and working in the mid card and doing some stuff that he hasn't really done for a while, and to be more serious, to have a more serious persona. So yeah, I thought it was a really excellent opening. Next, the first match was Dean Ambrose and Luke Harper. Before the match, they had a little angle with Dean where he was backstage. They said that it was Dean trying out for Weekend Update on Saturday Night Live, and where he and he's also sort of making fun of Bad News Barrett's gimmick now, where he does the TMZ thing. And he basically said that Bad News Barrett is going to sign this contract to give him an Intercontinental title match, whether he likes it or not. And then they cut to the ring, and it's Dean versus Luke Harper. And I thought it was a really good match. I thought it was a strong opening match. Dean looked good. Dean looked strong, which, I mean, maybe it's too little too late because he's been such a loser for the last 6 months, but they're making him look a little strong now. And he wins the match with his finish, and you know, it's a good way to build him up a little bit, even though they're kind of running out of time, for his match with Barrett, which is still not official at this point in the show. Barrett has still not signed the contract, but you can tell that's kind of the direction that they're heading. So what do you think of Ambrose versus Harper here?
Well, I don't really know why any, I guess, lawyer would draw up a contract for a lunatic, especially one that's on the fringe. To take into a company that's not his and try to get basically set a match, set something that's not even his job. It's like walking into my job because a guy signed a contract and says, you know, you have to sign. Basically, this is a contract written out for me, and you know, blah blah blah. But if you sign this over, you have to give me your company. I don't think Dean Ambrose has that wields that type of power. I think that Luke Harper has taken the place of Dean Ambrose because he's been on a pretty wicked losing streak here lately. It seems that his matches have not been ending up so well, which is a shame because, you know, we all looked at him as maybe being the next like Bruiser Brody, like that type of character, a guy who would just go in there and run roughshod through the whole damn roster, and he's lost a couple here. He's cooled off a bit, but yeah. I would say you got basically the same. Luke's kind of calmed down, and Dean's rose up, and they're about the same temperature right now.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Like, because they had cooled Dean off so much that now, even though they're just deciding to heat him up again, like he was so cold that, you know, they're about at even levels. Like, I mean, it's nice that they're at least putting some effort into building Dean up before he gets this title shot, you know. But they wouldn't have to do that so quickly if they had, you know, if they had booked him better for the last couple of months, so that it wouldn't feel so weird to see him getting a title shot when he's been doing nothing but losing matches, you know, since the fall. But yeah, and we'll come back to that. They pay off the Intercontinental contract angle a little bit later in the show. Next, first there was a backstage promo with Dusty Rhodes, the American Dream. Dusty Rhodes getting some screen time on Monday Night Raw, trying to broker peace between his sons, Goldust and Stardust. And it seems like he succeeds. They seem to get along. They shake hands. It looks like Dusty has patched things up between his boys. And then they cut to the match, and it's Kofi and Xavier from the New Day beating Goldust and Stardust. So Goldust and Stardust lose another match. The match was all right. The match was really just there to set up the angle. And after the match, Stardust finally actually completes his turn. He turns on Goldust. He nails him with his crossroads, his finish. And he walks away, leaving Goldust, you know, defeated and dropped in the ring. And after the commercial break backstage, Dusty finds him and he says, "Cody, what are you doing?" And Stardust goes into this rant about, you know, what a failure Cody Rhodes was. And he tells Dusty, "Cody Rhodes is dead and his father is dead to me too." And then he walks away. So what did you think of this whole thing? We have a lot happened. They really kind of hit the fast forward button on the Goldust Stardust turn. They,
Yeah, it came really quick. I mean, as soon as Dusty gave the speech, I was on they of course take to Twitter, make sure you hashtag this, hashtag that, hashtag that. So I looked it up on Twitter, my Twitter account. So I wrote right over to WWE. I said, looks like the Rhodes family is about to get sucked into a black hole. As soon as he made that fucking speech, I'm like, they're about to get sucked into a black hole. I saw it coming, because it
yeah.
was inevitable this was going to happen. And obviously with that grand speech that Dusty gave, and came over on Raw that this was going to be the moment they pulled that trigger. It's nice to
Yeah.
see that New Day can only win a match as if another team can't get along with each other. But they won a match. It goes in the record books, and that's another match for New Day. And still nobody cares.
Yeah, yeah, they can win matches when they need to win them to get other people's angles over.
Mhm.
They can't get their own shit over, but we can use them to help get somebody else's shit over. Yeah, and apparently, according to the match listing I saw when I was putting together the list for our predictions later, the Gold Dust Stardust match is going to be at FastLane. Now, I don't
Mhm.
know if they're going to also have a rematch at WrestleMania, because that was what we've always heard, that the big blow off is going to be at Mania. So maybe they'll do like an angle and then have the big blow off match at Mania. But as of right now, they are having a match between Gold Dust and Stardust at FastLane this weekend. So. Next is one of, I guess you could sort of look at this is part of a co-main event because they booked two matches tonight with Roman Reigns and Daniel Bryan. Roman Reigns is going to fight Kane, and then later on Daniel Bryan's going to fight Big Show. So this is the first of those matches about midway through the show. Roman Reigns versus Kane. And Daniel Bryan sat in on color commentary for this match. And he not only did he do commentary, but he also distracted Roman multiple times during the match by kind of leading yes chants in the middle of the match, which threw Roman off. And Roman still won the match. He beat Kane by countout, but he didn't pin him. And the angle there is that Bryan is kind of getting under Roman's skin by leading the yes chants. And I didn't. The match was okay. I mean, I still am not impressed with Roman's comeback, which is basically just a bunch of clotheslines. He goes into clothesline mode. But I thought it was a good segment. I thought Bryan did really good on color commentary. He showed some more of that personality and some more of that ability to ad lib and have his own voice that he doesn't always have when he's doing promos in the ring, and it feels like he's reading other people's words. But he came across a little heelish. I'm not sure if that was intentional or not, but overall I thought it was a pretty good segment. What did you think?
I thought that I don't really know what kind of corner that they're painting themselves into. I mean, they obviously want Roman to succeed and for the fans to embrace him, and that's not happening. Yet, they dangle Daniel Bryan out there, and the more you do that, the more the fans eat that shit up. And it's basically you have two balloons, and Roman keeps getting smaller, and you keep pumping up Daniel Bryan again. So, I mean, what are you going to do when you have to have those two face off? I mean, that is going to be a really tough choice. I wouldn't have had Daniel Bryan out there at all. You need to let Roman go out there, do his thing, and not take any fucking attention off of him. And you'll realize very soon if the fans are going to get behind him without the help of somebody else's assistance.
Yeah, I agree with you, and I think the way they book Roman later in this show doesn't really help either, and we'll get to that when we get there. But I agree with you. I think what they're doing is only serving to it continues to just make Roman look worse and worse and worse. Like, it just continues to highlight all the things about his push that aren't working, and it keeps making Bryan look like a better and better alternative, which is really strange because you would think they would want to be doing everything they could to build up Roman for that WrestleMania match, unless they've already decided to change direction and go a different way. But I have no idea. It's impossible to tell just from watching the show where they're going with Bryan and Roman. Like, at this point, anything that they would do would make as much sense as anything else. If they went with Roman and Brock like the original plan was, if they went with Bryan and Brock, if they went with a triple threat match, like, those are all equally valid options because it doesn't feel like any of those really would work at this point. So I guess it doesn't really matter.
Well, we can all tell the future of Roman Reigns because during this matchup with Kane, I don't care if he was distracted by Daniel Bryan or not, It was a pretty dumb move to spear somebody on the outside of the ring and get them counted out. I mean, you call
Yeah.
that a moral victory for yourself? Come on now.
Yeah, and he just barely beat the count too. Like again, it's like you hear people tell all these stories over the last couple of years about how obsessed they are with keeping Roman Reigns strong, make Roman look strong, make Roman look strong, and then when they're in the final push to his big WrestleMania main event match, they all of a sudden don't care about making him look strong anymore. Like it just doesn't make any sense at all. You hear about how obsessed they are with building this guy and keeping him strong and protecting him. And now, like a month before the biggest match of his career, fuck it. He can just win by count out. He won't even pin Kane. We'll have him get distracted by the fans and look like an idiot. It just doesn't make any sense.
Cesaro didn't really succeed when he won the Andre the Giant Battle Royal. So just because they let your ass win a Battle Royal doesn't mean, that
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, it's just dumb. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't think the fans are gonna take to Roman Reigns no matter what at this point. I don't think they're going to, because WWE, the longer they keep trying to shove it down our throat, the more we'll just be sick of him altogether and can't wait for him to leave.
Yeah. I mean, I agree, but it seems like they're not even really trying to shove him down our throats anymore. It's like they're still acting like he's the guy and he's going to get the shot at Brock, but they're not really doing anything with him to build him up. I mean, even you mentioned like him winning the Royal Rumble, like just because he won a Battle Royal doesn't mean anything. Especially the way they booked him in the Battle Royal. I mean, in the Rumble he didn't even really do anything. Like he just kind of took a nap. After he came in, he eliminated a few guys, and then he just kind of hung out in the corner until it was time for the finish. And then The Rock came out and did most of the hard work, and then it's like.
But of course he'd be good at a battle royal. I mean, that's what he does. He punches you, which is punching. There's a lot of punching and kicking in battle royals, and clotheslining you over the rope. And he's great at clotheslining.
Yeah, he loves to clothesline motherfuckers. I'll tell you what, if they ever have a championship for like the winner of the clothesline contest, Roman Reigns has got that fucker wrapped up, because that's what I mean, and it's look, everybody clotheslines people. It's a really common move, but I mean, shit. When you get your big babyface comeback and all you can think of to do is, oh fuck, let me clothesline him. Oh, okay, he's back up. Let me clothesline him again. Oh, get up, I'm gonna clothesline you again. Like, Jesus Christ, fucking do something else. Clothesline him once and then think of something else.
But what they really should have done was, before the Royal Rumble, started throwing Roman in single matches, and I mean significant single matches that were on Raw,
Yeah.
and letting him win them decisively. Not having bullshit, nothing like a Goldberg push. You go in there and you destroy them.
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Have him fucking kill people. Every week have him fight like an indie guy from some local indie promotion, and just have him fucking murder him. I don't know.
The Berserker used to win matches by count out.
That's right. The Berserker used to do it on purpose, right? It was like part of his thing. He would win matches by count out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay, so he's not going to pin people? No, he's going to win by count out. The people are going to love it. Okay.
So Roman's not the next Rock, he's the next Berserker.
He's the next Berserker. That would be great.
He don't go husk, he goes, oh!
Yeah, yeah. And he's always doing this. He's always cocking his fist. Well, next on Raw, Paige had a match with Summer Rae that she won by submission, but the most interesting part was before the match, they did an angle where the Bella Twins, those sneaky Bella Twins, they stole Paige's gear and left her like just with a towel. I guess she took a shower like 5 minutes before her match, and she had to borrow clothes from one of Adam Rose's Rosebuds. So she's got like this fucking strawberry shortcake looking like pink outfit on as she comes to the ring. And it didn't make a difference because it was a short match, and Paige won the match anyway. But it was to build up those mean girls, the Bella Twins. They stole Paige's gear. It's just some more of this, like you were saying earlier, Doc, the total divas bullshit that just pulls all of them down. Like, you have talented people that are just forced to do this stupid soap opera fucking bullshit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, let me point out to the people that the Bella Twins are 31 years old, and they're doing shit that you did back in fucking high school. They have not grown up, and yet they're supposed to be tough women. Come on.
Yeah.
And so they, instead of going out there and proving that they're tough women, they pulled these immature little fucking pranks on people, which was stupid. Not that I actually have anything against what they did, because Paige looked mighty tasty in that princess outfit. It was different, than what we saw her, but it had a little more color to her, and I like the look. I love the socks.
Yeah, I liked it. I guess it's just you try to put yourself like in the head of the people as though this is actually happening, and it's like, okay, Paige, loses her regular gear, so she has to borrow clothes from one of the Rosebuds, and she's like, yeah, should I wear the socks? Yeah, fuck it. If I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna do it all the way. So she puts the socks on too, I guess. Yeah, so next on Raw was a promo leading to a match. It was Seth Rollins and Jamie Noble and Joey Mercury, J&J Security, and Seth cut a promo on his own for a little bit. He talked about how he can't wait to cash in the Money in the Bank briefcase because he's the future and he's going to be the WWE champion soon. And then he started talking about Dolph Ziggler, and Dolph came out to answer Rollins, and they had a little back and forth on the microphone, which I thought was pretty good. I thought both guys did a good job, especially Rollins. Rollins has gotten really strong on the mic compared to where he was a year ago. I mean, he's really improved a lot. And then they have a match that was a short but kind of a solid match where Dolph won by DQ after J&J ran in for interference when he looked like he was just about to pin Seth Rollins. It was a little wacky because the referee had ejected J&J Security from ringside, and then they came back and interfered for the finish anyway. So it's like, why bother doing the angle where they get thrown out if they're just going to come right back out and be involved in the finish? But other than that, I thought it was a short but solid match for what it was. And I guess they're building up to these two doing something more. So what did you think, Doc?
Well, it's nice to see Dolph Ziggler winning some matches again, whether it be disqualification. But good God, how many disqualifications countouts are we going to fucking see? This is worse than WCW days. It's like there are no decisive fucking victories going on Raw, and that's because you want all your talent to be top draw. And I understand that, but you then pick up some fucking independent talent in your area so that you can have some of these matches where, hey, it's just a guy and an indie guy who's good. That way, you can put your guy over without having to cripple somebody else. It's like you have 3 hours of a fucking show. You used to be able to do it in 1 hour.
Yeah, it is a little. It's something I've noticed on Raw. It's been a recurring problem for a while actually. And it really comes out when you compare Raw to NXT, because NXT is usually pretty solid. Is that it just seems like they don't bother to book finishes for these matches, and I mean it's like you have two guys like Ziggler and Rollins, and they only have maybe 5 or 7 minutes, but they put on a pretty solid match. They do a good job, and then instead of coming up with an actual clever, inventive finish that would allow Dolph to look like he was about to win, but not actually get that pinfall, they just say, you know what, fuck it, let's just run in for a DQ. Like, it feels like they just don't bother to book a finish at all. They just say, or what was it last week where they did a disqualification after Big Show threw Bryan over the barricade. Like, since when do they disqualify people for that? But then all of a sudden it's like, oh, instant DQ. Like, they have no creativity when it comes to booking their finishes. And I know they have people there. I know fucking Dean Malenko is backstage. Arn Anderson is backstage. I mean, Christ, they have brilliant wrestling minds at their disposal that could come up with a finish for a match. And it's just like, what are we going to do? Let's just do a run-in.
It's not their machine. It's the unfortunate thing about that. But yeah, another thing is, it's like, why are these guys, if you want to build up a nice feud against them, why are these guys even seeing sight of each other? Why aren't they just starting to cut promos against each other? The thing about that is you throw them out on TV, and one wins by disqualification, so you think, okay, one gets the moral victory and the other one's not hurt by that. And of course, Seth still got the Money in the Bank case. He's strong no matter what. If he loses, he's still strong.
Right.
But it builds no interest for a possible feud payoff at a pay-per-view, because by that time you've seen them come up against each other 2 or 3 times by the time the pay-per-view gets there. And what they do in pay-per-view is no longer very special because you see a lot of the same shit that you basically take the 2 to 3 matches that they've already done, you piece them together, and you can put together what you're going to see for their payoff match because they do basically the same shit.
Yeah, that's one of the biggest problems with the way they're with the way they book now is I mean I guess the thought process is, well, you know, they have so much TV time to fill, and you know they can't put it off until the pay-per-view. But I see no reason why. Like, let's say they wanted to do Seth Rollins and Dolph Ziggler as like a match for, let's just say WrestleMania. Let's say those two are going to fight at WrestleMania. There's no reason why they have to have a single match against each other on TV between now and then. Even if there is this much TV time, even if they do have to do 3 hours of Raw and 2 hours of SmackDown every week, there's no reason why they have to give that match away for free, not just once, but multiple times before they expect people to pay for it to see it at WrestleMania. You don't have to do that. They have a roster of probably 40 or 50 people. You tell me they can't give Dolph Ziggler and Seth Rollins shit to do on TV to build to that match without having them just wrestle each other?
Yeah, the perfect thing to do would have put you put Dolph in a match with the Big Show, and it goes really well. Dolph looks like he's going to win, but then Rollins comes down and costing the matchup. Then he gets thrown into a match with Kane. Sure enough, the same thing happens. He's getting even more pissed off. He wants a match with Seth, but Seth's not going to give him. He's better. Seth's better than you. You haven't won any matches lately. I'm the Money in the Bank. I'm gold. You know, you can't beat me. But I tell you what, if you can beat both J&J Security at the same time, then I'll give you that matchup that you want. And bam, then you draw in heat. You know, you got that. That's the gamble. Now he's got a matchup, and then of course you throw off the fence, all the chairs and fences and things at him at that, you know, everything at him at that matchup too. But he still overcomes and finally gets that matchup, which really got the crowd going, and they know they're going to finally get that payoff where he's going to get his hands on him. Or even throw that Money in the Bank case, you know, into the mix and make it even more exciting.
Yeah, I'm surprised they haven't done that more. I mean, because Rollins has had the case since the summer, and he's been such a dick about it. Like, he always waves it in people's faces, and he's like, "I've got this. There's always a plan B," and nobody has ever challenged him to a match for the case. Like, it seems to me, even if you could have him keep it, you know, he doesn't have to lose it. But I'm surprised that they haven't done it, because that's an easy angle. You know, have Dolph come out and say, "You know what, I had that son of a bitch a couple years ago, and I sure would like to have it again, because the last time I had it, I cashed it in and I won the title. So what do you say, me and you go at it, and if I win, I get that contract." You know, but and you would think that Dolph would want to do that, because Dolph is that kind of a guy, you know. But yeah, I don't know.
Put that briefcase in a good guy's hand, and then he gets all, you know, brave about it and says, you know, I'm going to put this on the line until. Because it's nice to know that I have the title shot, but I'm going to continue to put this on the line against people and prove that I can earn that spot by wrestling, not just by going up to the top of a ladder and getting the briefcase. So until I feel that I've reached that level, I'm going to continue to put this on the line until I prove to everybody that I've earned it.
Now, that would be a great angle. That would be an awesome angle if they had a babyface, especially a babyface who maybe wasn't quite perceived as being at that main event level yet. If they had a babyface win the briefcase and then say he was going to defend it like every month like a championship, that would be awesome. That is a great idea. If anybody from WWE ever sees this, that's a great fucking idea. That would be a great way to get somebody over as a huge new babyface. Have him win the Money in the Bank and then say, "I'm going to defend it to prove that I deserve it." That would be awesome.
Sami Zayn would be perfect for that role.
Oh my God, wouldn't that be awesome? They could do that this year. They could fucking call Sami Zayn up after WrestleMania and have that be his first angle, and within a year he would be a main eventer, because he's already good enough in the ring. I mean, he's good enough right now to be a main eventer right now. It's just that, you know, he would need to come up and get over. But man, that would be fucking.
Oh, money. He's already over. They're fucking singing his tune.
Yeah.
He's not even on the roster. He's not even performing, and they're singing his praises during pay-per-views.
Yeah. Oh, man. That would be great. That would be great. Although, at the same time, I hope they don't do that right away, because I want to see the redemption story between him and Kevin Owens. Like, I want to see that paid off first before anybody goes anywhere.
And no crossover bullshit. Finish that up and wrap it up before you bring him over.
Oh, I agree, absolutely. Because it has to end with him winning the title. You would think. I mean, he has to win the title back. That has to be the end. Um, but anyway, next was a promo with Triple H, and he was interrupted by Ric Flair. And Ric Flair came out and told Triple H not to underestimate Sting. He's taken Sting too lightly. And Flair wants to make sure that Triple H knows who Sting is and he takes Sting seriously. And Triple H says that he's not going to let Sting just come walking in here like 15 years after WCW closed its doors and take the WWE away from him. And it gets kind of heated between Rick and Triple H because Flair makes fun of Triple H for falling on his ass last week after the fake Sting appeared in the ring. So Triple H takes offense at that and shoves Rick down. And he swears that after FastLane, he's going to make sure that Sting never shows his face in the WWE again, which of course we know is not going to happen because they're going to wrestle at WrestleMania. I thought this was good. I mean, I thought it was the best job that Flair has done for a long time. A lot of Flair's appearances in the last couple years in WWE have not been that great. But I thought him and Hunter obviously are comfortable with each other and they know each other. And I thought that this was a pretty good promo for Flair lately, and it was a hell of a lot better than that goofy horseshit they did last week with the multiple stings and the lighting and the shit on the Titantron. So what'd you think?
It was nice to see Nature Boy come out, and it was nice to hear him talk about his time when he did make Sting. I mean, Sting was that good guy. He was in place and to get pushed to the top, and Flair was the guy standing in his path. So they were inevitable to cross paths. And that was a most memorable feud when Flair and Sting. So if you want to talk to someone who has an authority over what Sting can do, who has a little mindset on the inside of Sting's process. I mean, he's wrestled him for the championship. He was the last matchup he ever faced him in WCW on WCW Nitro was Flair and Sting. I mean, the guy knows him. And all I'm telling you as a friend is I'm coming out here is don't underestimate him. I'm not saying that you can't do it, but you don't wrestle all the time anymore, and that kind of showed that. You kind of showed a little fear, not like the Triple H I know, by by falling on your ass last week. With that, during the fallout, Flair was backstage, and they're asking about it, and he explained all that, and he was asked if he feels any any ill will toward Triple H for shoving him down. And he said no, he's known Triple H for a long time. He's a Triple H guy, and it's not the first time them two have gotten into it. Probably won't be the last time. It just happens, but they're still friends. So yeah, Flair, although got shoved his ass, he didn't take it personally.
Well, that's good. It does feel like they're building up to the sort of a loser leaves town stipulation at WrestleMania between Sting and Hunter. It feels like they're gonna redo the Survivor Series stipulation, where if Sting wins, Hunter goes away, and if Hunter wins, then Sting leaves WWE forever. It feels like that's where they're building up to it, with Hunter making sure to say multiple times in that promo, "I'm gonna run him out of WWE, and he's never gonna come back." I mean, it feels like that's an obvious way to go. Like they'll have this little confrontation at Fastlane, and Sting will basically say, "Okay, Hunter, you know what? You want me to leave and never come back? That's fine. Let's have a match at WrestleMania. If you can beat me, I'll leave and I'll never come back. But if I beat you, you have to leave and never come back." And we know he'll come back eventually because he works there. But that'll be the stip. I feel like that's the direction they're going. And hopefully that means that Sting will win.
Yeah, I would like to see that. I mean, Sting, especially if it's at WrestleMania, I completely think that it's got to be Sting to have that feeling, to have that WrestleMania moment and that win, because he's never had one. Triple H has had many of them. Well, I don't know. I have to get my statistic book out and see how many WrestleMania wins he's actually had. You'd be surprised. But Sting doesn't have any, and it would be nice just to give him that one. And Triple H, I think, is a business guy. He understands that, and he would do the job. He's learned his lessons by hanging out with guys like The Undertaker. That you got to give back. You got to give back, and you've never given to Sting, so let's give him one.
Yeah, and another thing to consider when they're putting together that entire show is, since it's not entirely clear how the crowd is going to take to the main event, having Sting go over Triple H and putting that match maybe kind of late on the card, that might be an opportunity to sort of give the fans something they want and give them a reason to feel good about the show. Because if they do wind up doing Roman Reigns versus Brock Lesnar, and Roman wins the title at the end of the show, and the fans just shit all over that, it'll be nice to be able to remember something positive from that show. And if you have that Sting's WrestleMania moment and Sting having his first WWE match and beating Triple H in the middle of the ring at WrestleMania, like that is like a really feel-good moment that can elevate the rest of the show, so people won't look back at that show and think, oh, don't you mean the fucking show where Roman Reigns won the world title? They can think of it, oh no, that was Sting's WrestleMania, so.
Yeah, it's almost would be the opposite feeling of what you felt like last year when the Undertaker got lost to the guy, the one in 21 and 1.
Exactly.
Who I still think, and my prediction of FastLane, I'm not sure how that match will go down between Roman Reigns and Bryan, but I don't think either one's going to win.
Now you keep hearing that Brock is going to sign a new contract. That's been the rumor this week, that Brock wants to stay after WrestleMania. And if he does, I mean, I kind of feel like, even though I love Daniel Bryan, I don't think that they've booked him very well to be world champion at this point. I mean, I would, if I knew that Brock was going to still be there and was going to be around for a few more months, I would have him win too, honestly. I think that's the best thing they could do right now. Even though Brock's a heel, I think having Brock, whoever it is, whether it's Bryan or whether it's Roman, if Brock's going to sign a new contract and be around for another year, fucking have him keep the title at WrestleMania and start thinking about how to get it off of him after that. Because I don't think either Bryan or Roman is an ideal champion at this point. Next on Raw, there was they were setting it up as though it was going to be a match, but it turned out to just be an angle. Darren Young and an unnamed partner were in the ring, and they were attacked by the Ascension. And then Titus O'Neil, Darren Young's old partner from the Primetime Players, ran in and saved Darren Young. And hopefully this means that they have something planned, at least in the short term, for Darren and Titus. Obviously, there'll be a match between the Primetime Players and the Ascension, and that's cool to see. Although it kind of sucks that they're going back to the same thing that they killed like 2 years ago for no reason. And like, here they are all these years later. It's like, you know what? Fuck it. Let's just put them back together as a team. It just feels like really half-assed. But I especially love Titus O'Neil, and I like Darren Young too. So if it gives them something to do on TV, I guess I'm all for it.
Yeah, if it shines a spotlight on them, even for a moment, that's nice. That they give them that. Man, I'm just not used to Darren Young looking that way, man. I miss his hair. He had great hair.
I know.
I do love the facial hair though. That looks good.
Yeah, he looks like Mr. T, kind of. He looks like a young, jacked Mr. T. Yeah, so I guess they're not going to punish Darren for his tweets, for his, bitching about them running shows in United Arab Emirates like we talked about last week, which is good. They shouldn't, Anyway, next on the show, Bad News Barrett had a match with Damian Mizdow. Barrett won the match by pinfall with the bull hammer after Miz was doing the gimmick where he was talking on the microphone to distract Mizdow during the match, and he called Mizdow out of the ring a couple of times, like to, shine his shoes or clean off his sunglasses or something. Mizdow kept getting distracted, and eventually Barrett just hit him with the bull hammer and pinned him. And it looks like, at this point, the Mizdow's turn has to come as soon as possible, because Miz is being such an asshole to him that it really doesn't make any sense for them to still be friends at this point. Like, Mizdow should just, tell him to fuck off, because it's not even like a job anymore. Like, the whole thing about, well, maybe he just doesn't want to be fired as Miz's personal assistant. He's a fucking wrestler. Wrestling is his job, not being Miz's personal assistant. If Miz is treating him like shit and being a dick, he should turn on him right now. So hopefully that'll happen soon. And then after that, Dean Ambrose came out and handcuffed Wade Barrett to the ring post with zip ties and forced him to sign the contract for the Intercontinental title, which I do not think is legal.
Especially, there are that many witnesses and it's on camera.
Yeah, and he's and like Barrett is even saying, that's not my signature. I didn't sign it. So There's no way that's legal, but you know what the hell? It's Dean Ambrose, I guess, and it's close enough for WWE.
I
So
can only
there you
imagine what that signature looks like
go.
compared to an actual Wade Barrett autograph and see if it looks the same.
Yeah, it might look a little different.
But poor Damien, yeah, he's getting pushed
Yeah.
around by Miz, and it's about time that he just tells Miz to take this job and shove it, and then shove it for him.
Yeah.
Because man, I tell you, if I had to put up with that from my employer, I would burst down his damn office door and put my foot straight up his ass.
Yeah, totally. I mean, it feels like with this Damien versus Miz storyline, I mean, obviously this is always the direction that it was going. They were always going to break up and they were always going to have a match. And there feels like they're really getting close to that point now. But, I mean, it feels like in the beginning it worked really well, you know, them as a tag team and Miz now doing the pantomime thing where he would mimic everything Miz did. And, you know, that part really worked. But then it was like as soon as they decided to transition away from that into the next phase, they just didn't know what to do. Because this whole bit with Miz sitting at ringside yelling at him on the mic, like Damien should have turned on him right away. Like he shouldn't put up with that at all because Miz is just
Yeah, I'm in a match here with Wade Barrett, the Intercontinental Champion. I might want to actually look good when I do this.
Yeah, it's just. I mean, I feel like, and I don't think they have anything booked with these two for FastLane, so you would think the blow-off is going to be at Mania, so they have like another month to go with this, and it's like, Jesus Christ, he should have turned on him like a week ago. If that's the way they're going to book it, if Miz is going to start acting like this, it just doesn't make any sense for Damien Sandow to stay with him if he's going to be that much of an asshole.
I think it's a confidence issue here because the fans are giving him confidence, but he's not confident enough to stand on his own because the last time he stood on his own, he didn't do anything. He wasn't anything. This is the first time that the fans are behind him. Should he give that up?
Yeah, and maybe hopefully they'll let him have a promo or two where he can express that after he actually, you know, turns on him. Well, next there was a mixed tag team match. Jimmy Uso and Naomi defeated the team of Tyson Kidd and Natalya by pinfall, and then afterwards Kidd and Natalya kind of argued, and Cesaro had to like step in and break it up. Not a bad match, not a great match. It was just sort of there to remind me that these two teams have an issue, is what it felt like to me. Like it was just sort of like, oh, don't forget the Usos and Tyson Kidd and Cesaro are feuding, you know. So,
and it's always nice because we can throw in the women folk and make it an oddball combination, so it's not an official matchup between, you know, you two, the tag team champions, and the number one contender. So it's not an official. You'll get enough action in the ring together. Natalya looks great. I love Natalya. She looked good. But they're constantly pushing this heat, and this one's a weird storyline because it also is intertwined with Total Divas. So I wouldn't be surprised to see Cesaro's ass pop up on that show sometime in the future, especially if Tyson and them stick together long enough.
Yeah.
So it's not Total Divas because there's a lot of guys on that show too.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the guys are being divas too.
Well, John Cena is. You've seen his house, right? That dude is a total diva.
Oh my God, yes. And finally, the main event of Raw, Big Show versus Daniel Bryan. Big Show wins the match by disqualification after Roman Reigns jumps in and Superman punches him. And Roman had also spent the match at ringside, not on commentary, which I think was probably good, but he was doing things at ringside to distract Bryan, like signing autographs for fans and throwing T-shirts and taking selfies with fans. And the thing I didn't like about this is it makes Bryan look like an idiot for being distracted by it. Because Roman wasn't doing anything that should have distracted the wrestlers in the ring. He was just, I mean, he was being a dick at ringside and, like, you know, trying to get people to notice him. But Bryan could have, I mean, he wasn't saying anything. He wasn't interfering in the match. There's no reason for Daniel Bryan to be paying any attention to him at all. But the way they booked it, Bryan had to pay attention to him and had to get distracted, you know, for it to make sense. So I really didn't like the way they booked that. Makes Bryan look like an idiot. And it also makes Roman look like a dick heel. If it really feels like he's acting like a heel. And then after the match, Bryan and Reigns have actually what I thought was a pretty good brawl. They had a nice classic pull-apart brawl, where they would, they were rolling around and punching each other, and the refs had to pull them apart, and then they teased like shaking hands, and they walked away, and then they turned around and jumped on each other again. So I thought the ending angle was really good, but the way they were both booked on this show leading up to that just makes no sense to me at all. Like if I'm just a fan, like I don't know who I'm supposed to be rooting for, because they're both acting like dicks, you know.
Man, when the Big Show gets a hold of Daniel Bryan, I mean, literally just gets a hold of him and puts him in the corner and chops him, I think he's going to break him in half.
Oh my God!
I'm worried for the man's safety. Yeah, great heat there at the end of it between the two. I'll give him that. It was the first time that I think Roman Reigns, well, anytime he's done something, and it might be just because Daniel Bryan's light was shining down on him and he's involved in the feud. Which is why I brought in so much heat. When Daniel gets the best of Roman, fans are into it, because even when he's not, the fans want Daniel to get the best of Roman. But it did gain some interest in the matchup between the two for FastLane, which I think that was nice, at least that it does gain a little bit more interest in these two, and when they lock up, and you still hoping Daniel Bryan wins. But it was stupid shit. I mean, I guess the only reason they gave Roman Reigns what he had to do, signing autographs and all, is because that's the only thing. It's easy shit. Like, you don't have to do nothing but what you do at FanFest.
Yeah, exactly. He didn't have to talk or anything. I do think that closing angle was so good that it probably did more for the match than any of the stuff they've done to build it up so far. But it is interesting when you watch how the fans respond to Roman and Daniel. When Roman's out there by himself, I mean, he does get some cheers. It's not like the fans have completely rejected him. Like, he does get babyface reactions. But when he says he's going to kick Daniel Bryan's ass, he gets booed. And when they're both out there together, the fans clearly favor Bryan over him. Mm-hmm. And I feel like if I'm the WWE and I was hoping, I'm not getting what I hoped for. If the plan was to put Roman and Bryan together and to show that they're competitive but they respect each other, and at the end of this, the fans who like Bryan are going to be okay with Roman too. Like, it doesn't feel like that's the way it's going. It feels like if they have this match at Fastlane, and even if it's a great match, and Roman wins, that it's not going to get him over with those Daniel Bryan fans. They're just gonna boo the shit out of him because he's not the guy they want.
Yeah, Daniel Bryan can't give him this rub at this matchup, and then you need to scrap it. You need to scrap this idea and start from square one with Roman Reigns. He's not ready if he does not get any type of reaction from this match with Daniel. And honestly, to do that, I don't think you need to put him over. I mean, to me, this matchup is a total squash because big old Brock Lesnar's going to come down and get the match thrown out, and then now you only have a month left for WrestleMania, so you get your triple threat.
Well, let's gives
the writers a little bit more time to scramble.
Yeah, because they can't just come up with something that they think people might want to see and go with that. They have to constantly be in fucking defensive mode and scrambling to think up shit on the spot. Well, let's talk about Fastlane. Let's go through the matches that have been announced so far and give our predictions, and then we'll talk about the legend of the week. I checked online on a couple of sources, and I found the matches that have either been officially announced or that look like they will be officially announced on SmackDown or before the actual show on Sunday. So first, Stardust versus Goldust. The Dust Brothers explode. That'll be on Fastlane. This was, I feel like, since I think they're probably going to do something with these two at WrestleMania 2, I guess it could go either way, but I kind of just flipped a coin and picked Goldust for this one. What do you think, Doc?
I also picked Goldust by countout. Stardust is going to leave.
Ooh, that's interesting. I figure if you're going to do two, right? Stardust is the younger brother, so you think especially if Goldust is retiring, you have Goldust lose at WrestleMania. Mm-hmm. So have Goldust win this one. Next, for the tag team titles, the Usos versus Tyson Kidd and Cesaro. I picked the Usos for this one. What do you think?
I don't think the Usos are quite as hot as they were during their first run, and I'm not sure the Ascension's ready to rise up to that. I would give it to Tyson Kidd and Cesaro for a while and see what they can do. So I'm going to go with them.
Ooh,
New
cool.
new tag team champions.
You know what? I hope you're right. I'm not picking them, but I hope you're right because I love both guys and I really like that team. And I
Well,
would love to see them.
Cesaro's been put through a lot of shit. He needs something, some type of reward for everything he's been put through over the years.
Right. Uh, Next, the illegally signed Intercontinental title match between Wade Barrett and Dean Ambrose. This is another one where I just have no idea where they're going with it because they haven't really done anything with either guy except for the last couple weeks. So I don't know, but I picked Barrett. What do you think?
Yeah, I would have to agree with you. I think they've invested some time in things with Barrett. The money's there, and he's a proven commodity, and he's going strong with that belt. And there's no reason to change that.
Yeah.
I don't think it needs to be derailed by Dean Ambrose. So yes, Wade Barrett.
Yeah. Yeah. Divas title match. Nikki Bella defending against Paige. I had a similar philosophy for this match and also for the next match, which is I feel like there's going to be a title change soon, but WrestleMania is right around the corner, so why not do the title change at WrestleMania? So I chose Nikki for this one.
Yeah, I would
But
say.
who knows?
Yeah, I would say you want to. I would say you want a strong win at WrestleMania, especially for the Divas title. And that's a tough one to call too. And Paige has had it so many times. Just be nice to see something different.
Yeah.
Son of a bitch. Yeah, I'll go with Nikki. I really can't call that one. I'd like to see Paige. I don't like that belt around Nikki at all. I want to see somebody who can go out there and work. I'd rather see no Paige. But I think Nick, the Bella Twins are going strong right now. It's one of their top draws, and they know that. And they get their ratings in on Total Divas and ratings in on Raw when they're on there, and they're good to look at least. So. The only problem is they're wearing a little bit too much weight around their belt, around their waist.
Yeah. I agree with that. Next is the match between Rusev and John Cena, which will be for the United States Championship, and I was very happy to hear Cena push that in his promo on Raw. He actually saved that for last of all. He said, most importantly of all, I'm going to win the United States Championship. I thought that was very cool to finally hear somebody actually talk like they give a shit about a championship. So, yeah, U.S. title match, Rusev versus Cena. Same thing, same philosophy as I'm using for the Divas match. I feel like Rusev versus Cena is probably going to happen again at Mania, and you would want to have the big babyface win there. So I'm picking Rusev, and I wouldn't be surprised if it was like a cheating or a DQ or a countout or something. But I'm saying Rusev is going to win. So what do you think?
I'm right there with you. Rusev is strong, and I don't want him to lose, and I'm hoping that they stay on course with him because he's strong right now. He is real fucking strong right now. Man, I love this guy, and I think this matchup between him and Cena is a good idea because it will elevate Rusev even more, especially when he can beat Cena, and he will beat Cena because he follows Putin.
John Cena. I can't see you, John Cena. He's like the Russian Iron Sheik. I love him so much.
He'll beat the Putin out of him.
John Cena, I beat the Putin out of you. Oh, man. And then finally, the main event, Roman Reigns, Daniel Bryan, winner faces Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania. Doc, you already kind of sort of hinted at what the finish you're going for. I really don't know. I mean, I think it could go. There are probably 3 different ways that it could go, and I feel like it's equally likely for all of those 3 because I just have no idea what the fuck they're doing. But this isn't what I want to happen. But if I had to absolutely pick an outcome, I think it's what is most likely to happen, or what they're most likely to do. So I'm going with Roman Reigns. I'm going to say they're going to be stubborn and bullheaded, and they're going to hope that Daniel Bryan can pull an amazing match out of him, and that the amazing match will get Roman over. And they're going to go with Roman Reigns, but we'll see. I don't know. What do you think, Doc?
Yeah, I don't think either one would win. I think that's going to get thrown out somehow, and it might be because of Brock Lesnar.
Okay.
Because he has no problem. That's what I like about Brock Lesnar. He has no problem whipping the shit out of either one of them. We're looking at FastLane. This is the first time that a show is being called FastLane, so there's no credibility to the name itself, and it'll probably get changed again next year. So why not take a shit on the show at the end of it?
Yeah, I mean, and you're right. It's not like they have a reputation to hold up with Fastlane. It's the first one, and who knows? They might come up with a better name next year. Well, there you go. Those are our predictions for Fastlane. We'll find out if we're right or wrong or whatever on Sunday. Now, before we wrap up the show here, we always talk about a great legend of the week. We've already mentioned we talked about the NXT show. We talked about Samoa Joe being gone from TNA and where he might end up. Those were the only other two big sort of pro wrestling related topics from the week that I wanted us to cover, and we've covered them both. So let's talk about the legend of the week, Doc. What you got for us?
Well, damn. That's all I need to say. All I need to say. Because this week's legend is Ron Simmons. Man, it's nice to talk about Ron Simmons, man, because he's done a lot of things in his career. And I'm talking about, I don't need to really go back into his early days of playing football. I mean, he played in Florida State. He played for many years. He's in their Hall of Fame down there. So that's really nice. Kudos to him. I don't care about your football career. I don't care about your wrestling career. So let's get into that.
Uh-oh. You still there, Doc? Doc? Oh, man. I think Doc froze again.
Long was
There
fired.
he is.
Yeah, Long was fired kayfabe as the referee by Jim Herd immediately following this match. Simmons later teamed up with Butch Reed to form Doom. Butch Reed we talked about before on this show as a legend. In the beginning, the members of Doom were masked and only known as Doom 1 and Doom 2, managed by a woman. In their pay-per-view debut at Halloween Havoc 1989, Doom defeated the Steiner Brothers. In the Iron Team tournament at Starrcade 1989, Doom finished fourth, losing all three of their matches. With new manager Long, they rebounded and defeated the Steiner Brothers for the NWA World Tag Team Championships at Capital Combat in 1990. They held the title for 9 months, defeating teams like the Rock and Roll Express and feuding with the Four Horsemen. Among their most memorable encounters during their title reign was a street fight against Horsemen Arn Anderson and Barry Windham at Starrcade 1990, which ended in a no contest when Windham pinned Simmons while Reed simultaneously pinned Anderson. Doom was recognized as the first holders of the WCW World Tag Team Championship in January of 1991, finally losing the titles to the Freebirds at Wrestle War in February of 1991. Subsequently, Doom broke up, with Simmons turning face and feuding with Reed, defeating him in a cage match at the very first Super Brawl. Simmons defeated mid-carders including Oz and the Diamond Stud, then unsuccessfully challenged Lex Luger for the World Heavyweight Championship at Halloween Havoc, losing the best of three falls match, 1 fall to 2. Simmons, which is obviously lost it, he won fall to 2. I don't even know why they put that in there. Simmons spent the first half of 1992 feuding with Cactus Jack, bang bang, whom he defeated via pinfall at Super Brawl 2. On August 2nd, 1992, a scheduled title match between Sting and WCW World Heavyweight Champion Big Van Vader was canceled after Jake Roberts, kayfabe, injured Sting. WCW President Bill Watts responded by holding a raffle to determine the #1 contender. How dumb is that? But paid off. Simmons won the raffle and defeated Vader with a snap scoop power slam, which was beautiful, to win the championship. By defeating Vader, Simmons became the very first recognized African-American WCW World Heavyweight Champion. Simmons held the title for 5 months. He continued to feud with Cactus Jack, with Jack bringing in the Barbarian to challenge Simmons at Halloween Havoc. At Starrcade, Simmons was scheduled to wrestle Rick Rude, but due to Rude being injured, he faced Dr. Death Steve Williams instead, wrestling to a double countout that was changed to a disqualification win for Simmons when Williams attacked him after the match. His title reign ended 2 days later on December 30th, 1992. What a way to end a year! When Vader defeated him to regain, when Vader actually defeated him to regain the title. Afterwards, Simmons was regulated to mid-card status, eventually becoming a bitter heel who felt like fans abandoned him after he lost the championship. Simmons unsuccessfully challenged Dustin Rhodes for the United States Heavyweight Championship and Paul Orndorff for the World Television Championship during his last months in WCW. Simmons appeared in Extreme Championship Wrestling from late 1994 to early 1995. During that time, he unsuccessfully challenged World Heavyweight Champion Shane Douglas at November to Remember and had matches with Mikey Whipwreck and 911. After ECW, Simmons joined the World Wrestling Federation and made his debut on July 22, 1996, on the episode of Raw. His first gimmick was that of Farouk Assad, a gladiator who wore a black and blue gladiator outfit with a misshaped helmet and was managed by Sonny. Not bad there. Simmons, I mean, not bad back then anyways. Don't Google Sonny now, okay? Look at the old pictures. Simmons started his first feud with Ahmed Johnson before shortening his ring name to just Farouk. The feud was started when Farouk attacked Ahmed during a tag team match when Johnson was teaming with Shawn Michaels against the Smoking Guns. As Ahmed was outside the ring, Farouk appeared and assaulted him. As a result of the injuries Ahmed suffered, he was forced to forfeit the Intercontinental Championship. The title was put up for grabs in a tournament when Farouk lost the final to Mark Mero. Guy has no luck. As Farouk, Simmons dropped his gladiator gimmick finally, and with his new manager Clarence Mason, formed a stable known as the Nation of Domination. The Nation of Domination was loosely based on the Nation of Islam and the Black Panther Party. Although the members of the stable were not exclusively African American, they mostly feuded with Ahmed Johnson, when Farouk was who Farouk was actually combating before. Like I just said, Farouk's ongoing war with Johnson included matches at the Royal Rumble in 1997, where Ahmed won by disqualification. The two came together in the Rumble again later that night when Farouk's fellow Nation member Crush drew number 1 and Ahmed drew number 2. Ahmed eliminated himself when he saw Farouk in the aisleway and chased after him. Later in the same match, Farouk was eliminated when Ahmed returned and attacked him with a 2x4. At WrestleMania 13, where Ahmed recruited the Legion of Doom to take on the entire nation in a Chicago street fight, which was won by Johnson and the Road Warriors. The group stayed together until Farouk became angry with them for costing him the WWF Championship in a match with The Undertaker at the 1997 King of the Ring. After Simmons threw Crush and Savio Vega out of the Nation, Crush and Vega formed their own rival factions, known respectively as the Disciples of Apocalypse and Los Pericos. I think that did that pretty good.
Yeah.
Pericos.
Los Pericos.
And Farouk recruited more African American members for the Nation. The three stables feuded with one another throughout 1997. In the summer of 1997, Farouk again lost a tournament final for the Intercontinental title, this time to Owen Hart, after Stone Cold Steve Austin interfered. Ironically, the tournament was set up after Austin forfeited the title due to an injury inflicted by Hart. Austin wanted Hart to win so he could again beat him for the title. And early in 1998, signs of dissension in the Nation began to show as The Rock began arguing Farouk on a regular basis. The Rock at times felt he should be the leader as he was now Intercontinental Champion. In the Royal Rumble, all 5 Nation members were in the ring at the same time and frequently brawled with each other. Farouk even eliminated his fellow Nation members D'Lo Brown and Mark Henry. He was one of the final 3 along with The Rock and Stone Cold Steve Austin. Farouk wanted The Rock to help him eliminate Austin, but The Rock did not offer help and then proceeded to eliminate Farouk. The following month at the No Way Out pay-per-view, all 5 Nation members, which were Kama, Rock, D'Lo Brown, Mark Henry, and Farouk, lost a 10-man tag match to Ken Shamrock, Ahmed Johnson, Chains, Skull, and Nate Ball. If you don't know who they are, Google them. Farouk was clearly annoyed with The Rock in a pre-match interview, and after the match, they almost came to blows. The following pay-per-view was WrestleMania 14, where the Nation sent 2 teams into a tag team battle royal. Farouk teamed with Kama, while D'Lo teamed with Mark Henry. Neither team won. Later in the evening, The Rock was defending his Intercontinental title against Ken Shamrock. The stipulation was if The Rock was disqualified, he lost the title. All Nation members, except Farouk, were at ringside on this match. And Shamrock won the match when The Rock submitted to the ankle lock, leaving Kama, Brown, and Henry to enter the ring. Shamrock, however, disposed of them despite the numerical advantage, and repeatedly locked The Rock in the ankle lock. Wow, locked The Rock in the ankle lock. Farouk ran down to the ring, but seeing The Rock in agony, he then decided against helping him and walked off, with the crowd cheering his decision. The Rock did, however, retain his title as the match decision was reversed due to Shamrock's refusing to break the hold. What a dumbass. Simmons' leadership of the Nation of Domination was usurped.
That's it, man.
That's it, man. That's right. Yeah. Well, anyways, he was taken over by The Rock, right? On the next night of Raw, and Farouk was no longer on fire. He was kicked out of the Nation, and that motherfucker burned. But he spent the next several months feuding with his former teammates. After being dumped from the Nation, Simmons feuded with The Rock but failed to win the Intercontinental title. Simmons then teamed briefly with Too Cold Scorpio. In late 1998, Simmons began teaming with Bradshaw as Hell's Henchman. They were managed by the Jackal until he left the WWF, at which point they were repackaged as members of the Undertaker's Ministry of Darkness and were renamed the Acolytes, as they acted like acolytes to the Undertaker. The Acolytes recruited Phineas I. Godwin. I never knew his middle initial was I. Or is that an L? I can't tell. It looks like a capital I.
It's Phineas I. Godwin because his initials are Pig.
Pig!
Yeah.
Duh. Well, they recruited him and Mabel to the ministry by kidnapping and brainwashing them. How smart of them are. Smart. Renaming them Midian, and I loved Midian, and Viscera, respectively. And feuding with the Undertaker's rivals such as Degeneration X and The Brood, the latter of which joined the Ministry of Darkness as well. During this time, the Acolytes had 2 short reigns as tag team champions. They defeated the team of Kane and X-Pac, but lost the titles to the Hardy Boys at the Fully Loaded pay-per-view in 1999. They won the titles back in a no disqualification handicap match against the Hardys and Michael Hayes. Their second reign was ended after a short reign when they lost the titles to Kane and X-Pac. After The Undertaker suffered an injury in late 1999, the Ministry of Darkness disbanded. Simmons and Bradshaw continued to team with one another and eventually adopted the gimmick of 2 brawlers who enjoyed drinking beer and smoking cigars, becoming faces in the process. After Bradshaw began hiring out the services of the Acolytes as mercenaries and bodyguards, the tag team was renamed the Acolytes Protection Agency, the APA. Around this time, Simmons would start saying his trademark, damn. Though it wouldn't be emphasized as much as it would be later on. The team won their 3rd tag team title by defeating the Dudley Boys in June of 2001, but lost the titles the following month to Diamond Dallas Page and Chris Kanyon. When I remember that was during the WCW War, the invasion.
Yeah.
When Test interfered and turned heel by attacking the APA. The APA teamed together until 2002 when Simmons was drafted to SmackDown brand. Around this time, Simmons changed his name to his real name by choice due to the terrorist group Al-Qaeda having a training camp called Al-Farouk. Simmons had a brief heel run when he teamed with Reverend Devon until he left television in December 2002. But in June of 2003, he returned to WWE with Bradshaw, and the APA reunited. In his last WWE storyline, he was fired by former SmackDown general manager Paul Heyman. It was assumed the APA would be fired, but it turned out to only be Farouk. Simmons retired from his in-ring career, kayfabe, accusing Bradshaw of not being a faithful friend. In reality, Simmons, who had been planning to retire due to his health and age and become a backstage agent for the company, was let go the day this angle aired on SmackDown. Reports at the time indicated that this was due to an inappropriate conduct issue at WrestleMania 20 at the festivities that weekend. Since then, he's made amends and he's been back to WWE television. He's had a few run-in with the current stars. He's been inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame. I'm not going to go into any of his post-wrestling stuff. I just wanted to cover the stuff he did because at this point he's retired from the ring. But he comes back every now and again to at least say, damn. And that's nice because I liked Ron Simmons. But the one thing that I can always remember about Ron Simmons is the 2 things that I can always remember about Ron Simmons is the 3 things I can remember about Ron. No, just two. is his days with Doom and Teddy Long. I thought those were great tag team days back in WCW, and I loved that tag team and the fact that he is recognized as the very first black world champion over in WCW. And I think even in WWE, he was considered really the first American black world champion that we've ever seen on any of the big promotions. So he'll always be credited for that, and that's why I wanted to make him our Legend of the Week. Ladies and gentlemen, that's damn Ron Simmons.
He is one of my all-time favorite wrestlers. I was 12 years old when he won the WCW World Title in 1992, and I thought that was the coolest thing ever. That he was the first black major world champion in wrestling. And you mentioned when in that match when he wins, he pins him with the power slam, and I always love Ron Simmons' power slam. He had such a sweet power slam, a really quick snap where he would just catch him off the ropes and slam him over really quick. One of my favorite guys. Looking back on his career, and now I seeing him get inducted into the Hall of Fame a few years ago was so awesome for me because I had been a fan of his since the Doom years, and and when you think about his WWE career, he was repackaged so many times. Like, he started out as Farouk the Gladiator, then he was like the Black Power guy, and then he was an acolyte of The Undertaker, and then him and Bradshaw were kind of like the hired guns and the brawler. Like, he changed gimmicks so many times, but he was always there, and he was always doing something, and he was always on TV, and he was always good. And he always had a very particular kind of like tough guy charisma, and yeah, he's just one of my favorite wrestlers ever, and I'm so happy that his career worked out the way it did, that he actually got to have a nice, long, successful run, both in WCW and in WWE, and now he's in the Hall of Fame. And God, it's hard to think of anybody who would deserve it more than him, because he just had such a great career. And I know this time we actually both have Ron Simmons matches in our network recommendations. So, Doc, why don't you go first? What's your WWE Network recommendation this week?
My recommendation would be Return from the Rising Sun, May 19th, 1991, Super Brawl. I chose this match because it was we can consider this like the implosion of Doom. We had Ron Simmons against Butch Reed in a steel cage match, and Teddy Long was actually locked and suspended in a cage during the entire match of this. Not only that, but you get to see the WCW Heavyweight Championship, Ric Flair against the NWA World Heavyweight Champion Tatsumi Fujinami. So that's like us meets American wrestling versus Japanese wrestling. Great matchup because Rick also wrestled over in Japan a lot, so he does very well over there. Steiner Brothers versus Sting and Lex Luger, great matches. You can see the Freak of Nature El Gigante versus Blubbermouth Sid Vicious, and I really shouldn't talk when I say Blubbermouth. But yeah, Dan Spivey versus Ricky Morton, Nikita Koloff versus Tommy Rich, a young Dustin Rhodes versus Terry Taylor.
Yeah.
But check it out. It's on the network. Super Brawl 1991.
That is an awesome show too, man. That's one of my favorite WCW shows ever. Especially that Sting, Luger, and Steiner's match. That is such a cool match. And of course the Butch Reed versus Ron Simmons match. My pick is actually the show where Ron Simmons won the world title. It is an episode of WCW Main Event that is on the network as a part of their Black History Month promotion. They actually don't have WCW Main Event on the network as a series, although that would be awesome if they did. Hopefully they'll add that at some point. But they have the episode where Ron Simmons defeated Vader with that sweet power slam for the World Championship. It's WCW Main Event number 620, and you can find it under their Black History Month menu on the WWE Network. And like Doc mentioned earlier, it was just an episode of weekly TV. It's just a TV show. It's only like 45 minutes long, and the match itself is only like 7 or 8 minutes. It's not like an epic match, but it's an awesome moment to see Ron Simmons win that world title, and the fans go nuts when he wins the title, especially beating Vader, who had been like an unbeatable champion up to that point. They had really pushed Vader as like a monster, and when Ron Simmons pinned Vader in the middle of the ring and won that title, the roof came off the place, and the locker room came out to celebrate with him. Like, it's just a really cool moment to see Ron Simmons win the world title, and that's my recommendation. WCW main event, episode number 620. Well, shit, Doc, I think we're done.
Yeah, I just want to remind fans out there who might be coming across this video for the first time that we do have a Facebook page. You can go over to facebook.com/wrestling with wrestling and like our page. Leave your comments on what you like and what you don't like, maybe your suggestions, and maybe you could suggest next week's Legend of the Week. I might take one for granted, and then if I take your suggestion and cover it, then I'll give you full credit on this show.
How about that? And then you can brag to all your friends that you got to pick the legend on this wrestling show that some people watch. And everybody will think you're cool.
But I'm like Vince McMahon. If I don't want to do it, then you have no chance in hell.
Oh, great. All right, that's it, everybody. We'll see you next week. Enjoy FastLane this weekend. Hopefully it's a good show. We will be back next week to tell you what we thought about it. So thanks for watching, everybody. See you next week.